Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here. Welcome to our Crucifixion live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us. I missed you all week. Thank you, Greg and team, for handling the live stream while I was gone. I was on the East Coast taking my oldest child for her second year of college. My bride and I got all the stuff, put it on a plane, flew over there, and moved her into her dorm. It was a blast. However, I was feeling this overwhelming amount of pressure. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to spew, so you got to deal with me. So keep it in mind like this. We live on Pacific time. We were on East Coast time, so we're 3 hours ahead. Our bodies are totally 3 hours behind. And of course, for whatever reason, the hotel called my room at 4:54 a.m., which is 1:54 a.m. for my body's time. And they said, "Here is your wake-up call." And I said, "I didn't ask for a wake-up call. I have a cell phone with an alarm on it. Why are you calling me?" So 5 o'clock in the morning. Go back to sleep. Thank God I fell back asleep. And I'm not exaggerating nor making up. At 6:07 a.m., so like an hour later, the hotel's fire alarm went off. So, like, what is going on? Short story, really long. We were, needless to say, as we get ready to go move in at 9 a.m., exhausted. Now, couple that with the pressure of leaving your child on the other side of the country by herself. Couple that with the pressure of, like, the exhaustion, the physical exhaustion from the wake-up call and the fire alarm. Now I'm lugging all this stuff. So my body's starting to, like, carry all these big bags and suitcases, all that kind of stuff. I'm getting tireder. And then I come to find out that there is a little bit of chaos going on back here where I live. Things happening in the parish. That Greg and I serve at, and nothing bad, but just a constant barrage. Then in some of my own personal, financial dealings, there was other stress and things there were deadlines, but that were out of my control, and I had to sit and wait, and I hate waiting. I'm not good at it. And I could keep going. I mean, the list gets worse and worse, but the pressure built up, and I thought I was going to explode. Like, I didn't know how I was going to deal with all of it. And I don't know if you've ever felt like that, where it's just like nothing in and of itself is really bad. It's just bad in the sense of insurmountable, but it's the multitude of them all at once. Have you ever felt that, where it's like you're getting pegged from every single direction with a million different little things that add up to such frustration? I was feeling like I thought my head was going to explode, and I didn't understand it. And it turned out I got nasty with my wife and my daughter, not necessarily attacking them as much as just I wasn't in control, right? Because I just felt this squish. I was like, you know what a vice is? And they were just kept cranking the vice. The world was just cranking the vice, and my head was like, I was going to die. I thought I was going to mentally explode. And so I don't know how I got through it. My girls were patient. They actually, my oldest, called me out a little bit and said, "Man, you need to get control of yourself." It was good. All right, so all of that rambling leads to this. What do you do in situations like that? I mean, how do you overcome that kind of stuff? Well, I'm going to tell you what I did, and hopefully it's something of value to you. I turned to the book of Psalms, right? And I just literally flipped it open on my phone, and I read, and I'm going to read it for you now, verses 5 and 6 from Psalm 118. And I just, like, the thing flipped open and boom, that's where it went. I don't usually do that. I don't want you to get lost in that voodoo of it, but that's what I did. And I read for you, "Out of my distress I called on the Lord, and the Lord answered me and set me free. With the Lord on my side, I do not fear. What can man do to me?" I loved it. With the Lord on my side, what can man do to me? Now, the Lord is not going to come down, nor did he that day in the East Coast when I was moving in my kid and all of a sudden magically lift suitcases for me, or fix leaks at home, or magically do all of these things to make all of this pressure go away, right? It's not, and we're not arm in arm on the beach with two sets of footprints, and then now that my head's going to explode, he carries me. That's not it either. I think what the psalmist is telling us, which is what you and I as warrior saints know, to be with the Lord, have the Lord on your side, means that you live your life in a fashion that the Lord has prescribed for us, right? Which is what we call being crucifixional. And so it is that sacrifice, that controlling of the emotion of the self, of my own desires to, like, scream and yell at other people around me or just to get it all out, becomes something you bring under control, right? And I took refuge in this because I know that all of these things that are happening to me, again, even though none of them are huge in and of themselves, but the compilation of them all was not beyond my ability to handle, right? Remember in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, St. Paul tells us basically, look, things will come your way. I'm paraphrasing. Things will come your way, and, they will be pressure. But nothing, the Lord will let nothing come upon you that you won't be able to withstand, right? Like nothing is going to be beyond your ability to handle. The Lord won't let that happen. And so I took comfort in knowing from Psalm 118 that the Lord is on my side. What can man do to me? And from 1 Corinthians, this chapter 10 verse that says, nothing will be bigger than you. You can handle it if you handle it in a fashion that the Lord prescribes for us, meaning to live crucifixionally. And so, you know what? With that comfort, it struck me like I've got to do this differently, right? If I'm going to spend the rest of this day with my bride and my daughter, moving her in, and have all this pressure around. I can't handle it the way I want to handle it, and that's like just to scream and yell. So what am I going to do? Something's got to be different. I need something new. And so I did something really kind of silly, and please don't laugh at me, but it worked. I left the girls, and I went to the car to get a bag or whatever. And while I was there, I stopped, I closed my eyes, and I breathed really slowly. I did something called box breathing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but you breathe in for a count of 4. You hold for a count of 4, you exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold for a count of 4, repeating like a box, right? This is something the Navy SEALs gave us. I don't know if they made it up, but that's where I got it from. It's to help slow everything down. And I noticed that not just literally biologically when I was breathing in and getting more oxygen into my lungs and into my bloodstream that I was going to calm down, but also just the taking that brief moment of respite, of rest, so that I could just gather myself and realize, and here's the opportunity that I found, was that nothing is really that big of a deal that I need to be freaking out about it. Things are what they are. You got to handle them. It's still going to be there. When I get home, all of the problems that were here, right? So if I take this into consideration and remember, not everything's as big a deal as I'm making it out to be. And that this is really part of the cycle of life where we all have those moments. I was able to really look at it differently and say, all right, get your act together, man. Do your business, treat your wife, treat your kid with respect, carry the suitcases and move her into her dorm room and enjoy the day. And you know what? Thank God, because he stood by my side, as the psalm says, with the Lord on my side, I do not fear, right? And we ended up having, after my little blow-ups, a great day. And she's all moved in. She looks great. She's having a blast. She's going to kill it this year in college. Anyways, all of that rambling to share with you. If you are feeling that kind of pressure, which, it may be today for you, it may be a bunch of days, and it may be cyclical, right? Like sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't in life. I mean, I hope it doesn't for you, but if you're feeling that kind of pressure, remember, you got to trust in the Lord and be crucifixional. You got to sacrifice your desire to do what God has asked us to do, to live a Christ-like life. Do that breathing. Remember, things don't really mean, or they don't matter as much as we want to give them credit for when we're in those stressful situations, so that you can control the way you behave. Really, it's not for you to worry about what life hands you. You can't control what life is going to hand you. All you can do is decide how you're going to handle the things that come your way. Like, all right, I'll end here. Great line from Lord of the Rings. When Frodo doesn't want to carry the ring anymore, and he says to Gandalf, I wish this never came to me. And he says, Gandalf in reply, so do all who live to see such times. But it is not for us to decide the times, only what to do with the time we are given. And my exhortation to you is, hey, warrior saints, let's live the time that we're given in a Christ-like crucifixional manner, because that is transformational. Not only will you be able to handle the pressure that's happening in the real, but you will also see a growth, a transformation in your own mind, so that when those things pop up again the next time, you'll be better equipped to deal with it and not quite as thrown off kilter. Love you. We're going to be back next week. We're going to have an interesting week next week. We're going to talk about witnessing to non-Christians. Somebody asked me a pretty cool question, and I'm going to try to answer it on Monday. Before that, however, Sunday, Orthros Liturgy, as usual, at 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific, respectively. And then Monday, we're going to go after that great question. I love you. Have a great weekend. As always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.